Wednesday. Good to see you. It's Wednesday. It's Kirsten Liebelt. Good to see you. I had one lone supplement here. Hold on. I'm like, how did I miss a supplement? I don't know, but I did. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you guys. Having a little technical difficulties this morning. I have no idea. Things happen and you have to understand. So technology is not my jam. I shouldn't say it that way. I've gotten so good at technology, meaning I can function. Okay. But my husband is really the person who can help me do a lot of different stuff to troubleshoot. And so I needed to troubleshoot this morning, and I was a big girl and I did it all by myself, but I still wasn't able to get my webcam going. Doesn't matter. Blah, blah, blah. How are you doing this morning? It's Wednesday morning. Oh, I will not be here on Friday. I won't be here on Friday. Every day we go live 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And I love that so much. You guys are amazing. Good morning, Kristen. Good to see you. Good to see you. And I won't be here on Friday because we are leaving on a road trip-a-roo. We're leaving tomorrow night, Thursday night, and we are going from Minnesota to Louisville, Kentucky. And it's for a business trip. And so I won't be here on Friday because I'll be road tripping, and I'm excited. It's every 90 days, if more people could grasp the concept, whether it's about business or your health or whatever, if you could grasp the concept of doing things in 90-day increments, you could make so much gain in your life, because about every 90 days, we need to reset. We need to, for me, 90 days to then go and reset my brain again. Or, wow, the lighting is so weird on TikTok. You guys, I apologize. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if that's going to help or not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And every 90 days, if you can give yourself a 90-day run of whatever it is. And that's why even right now, we're doing that 90-day, we're doing a gut reset in the group, Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. We're doing it the first 10 days of October, the first 10 days of November, the first 10 days of December, so that you can land on your feet January 1. Okay, so good morning, Magda. Good to see you. So you can land on your feet. Good morning. And it's basically really helpful. If you can think about it, even in businesses, companies, they have quarters, right? We go by the quarter. Sometimes you're in college, you go by the quarter. It's the same thought process. So go by the quarter. We're going to October, November, December, we're going to punch it out, and then we're going to land in January on our feet. Okay. And so anyway, that's for me in business. When I get to go to a business conference like this, man, I'm telling you what, it fires me up. The first time I went to a business conference for our business, I left there and I said to my husband, I am a conference person. And I did not mean I actually am a conference person. I meant I'm a greenhouse person, because I'm able to put myself into a greenhouse, gain mindset. I have to be around people who have a higher mindset than me, or, they know more than me. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I am in the wrong room. You got to get into a different room. So anyway, so I'm so excited because we're going to get to spend the weekend just kind of refilling our own tanks. And so there you go. If you're on the replay, let me know you're on the replay. Let me know where you're coming in from. I would love that. Kristen, thank you so much. You're making my day. And today, this is what I want to do. I'm going to go. So yesterday, what did we do yesterday? We talked about the liver. And I forget what we talked about on Monday, but I wanted to go revisit another section. It's a smaller section of the nutrition roundtable that was put on by Senator Ron Johnson. And the information that's been coming out of this has been stunning. Absolutely stunning. Casey Means, the surgeon from Harvard. We talked about Jillian Michaels the other day and what she had to say, and her journey from being 13, obese and depressed, to becoming somebody of fitness and, rejecting our food supply and what they've done to us. And so what I wanted to talk to you about today is he's a gastrointestinal surgeon, and he's not well known or anything like that. But, he said, Why has our pancreatic cancer incidence like doubled in my 20 years of being a surgeon? Like, what's going on? And nobody's asking these questions. So I just kind of wanted to take you through that today. If you are in need of any information about the gut primer and a probiotic so you can be doing the gut reset, let me know. If you are in need of any like a cart for the trio, let me know. And I will get you taken care of. And I want to make sure I get everybody taken care of as much as possible before I head out of town on Thursday night. And so, all right. So this is very interesting because it's so interesting to me. I ask these questions all the time. And to have other people, like I told you guys, it felt like Jillian Michaels was inside of my head with some of the questions that she was posing. I'm like, it validates my own chatter in my head. All these years wondering, why is it happening this way? Why does it look this way? Why is nobody doing anything or some, etc. And you have to understand that, I grew up with a dad who was type 2 insulin dependent, and he was on all of these meds. He dies at 63. And ever since then, I have just had a lot of questions, and we have watched ourselves now as a society become more sick, more obese, and more medicated. And dare I say, like Jillian Michaels said, she said it, and now it makes me feel very empowered to continue on with this line of thought process. It's obesity by design. It's obesity by design. And that's a hard pill to swallow. I'm not going to lie. It's a hard pill to swallow, because who wants to think that your government or, whatever is sold out? Who wants to think that, they do not have your best interest in mind? And she talked about that. So this gastrointestinal surgeon is kind of like in the same vein of saying, oh my gosh, like what is happening? And why are we not talking about this? And the reason why I feel so impassioned or opinionated or whatever you want to call it. I'm Italian. You can call it whatever you want. To talk about this like literally all the time is because this is reversible. Every day I say the same thing. This is reversible. Insulin resistance is reversible. There are many stops on the line of insulin resistance. Just like if somebody's autistic, they're on a spectrum of autism. There's a spectrum of insulin resistance. So maybe you're barely insulin resistant. Good morning, Linda. Good to see you. Maybe you're barely insulin resistant. When I was 22, I get pregnant. I have my first baby. I'm gestational diabetic. I'm checking my blood 4 times a day. He's 9 pounds, 13 ounces. It was a very hard delivery. I swore I would never have children again, but I was at the beginning of my journey of it showing up, right? 3 years later, I have my second baby. Good morning, Cheryl. I'm hypoglycemic, which is just the other side of the exact same coin. I have her, and then a handful of years later, not many, about 6 or 7, my dad dies, type 2 diabetes. I had spent my entire life with him, and insulin, hypodermic needles and insulin vials and hospital stays and surgeries, and all of the like sitting in the waiting rooms and praying that he would make it through another surgery. Like that was my life. Like we would just pace and wait for the heart surgeon to come out and tell us that he was going to live, right? And then he dies at 63. I set sail and do nothing about it until a lot later. So at the beginning in my 20s, if I would have known what I know now, if I could take my knowledge or my experience, my research, my geekiness about all of this and insert it into myself at 22, game on. I would have had the key. I would have never been overweight. I would have had it figured out in a New York minute. I would have been like, I would have understood. So that's why I got really excited when my daughter got some of these keys to her universe, because she had gallstones when she was pregnant with her babies, blah, blah, blah. It's also connected can be to insulin resistance. Okay, that's another whatever. So she figures it out. And I said to her, and the minute she figured it out, she's 8 months pregnant. They're like, you should have surgery. She's like, get away from me. I'm not going to do that. So we use supplementation, which is what I talk about all the time. We use supplementation. She changed her diet. Immediately, the inflammation falls from her body because she goes keto, starts to supplement for her liver, for her digestion, etc. Right? And I said, do you understand that you now have a key to your own weight management for the rest of your life? Like what I wouldn't have given to have that. But I'm 59. I have it now. I can pass it on to other people. Okay. So that is good. But my point being that you're on a spectrum of insulin resistance. So somebody reached out to me actually from Australia last night, and she was asking questions about, maybe she's on. Hi, Julie, if you're on. And she was asking about why is it that if you are storing fat because you're insulin resistant, why is it that you can eat fat and not get more fat? Well, tell me how you can eat healthy fats and that works. And so I was talking to her about, I'm not used to having a microphone on. Talking to her about how that's not how that works. What happens is your insulin is raised. Everything you eat turns to glucose. It's by design. That's a good thing. You want glucose because your body's going to produce insulin to counteract it. And the insulin is going to go gobble up the glucose and shuttle it into your cell. You want that. Okay. So that's great. That's working normally. But when you overwhelm your system, you're constantly overwhelming your system with an overconsumption of carbohydrates for years and years and years, like I had done. And like probably if you're on my content, you've done it too. And our society has increasingly bludgeoned us with marketing to get us to think that we should be eating ultra processed foods from the minute we get up until the minute we go to bed, and we deserve it. You deserve this ultra processed food life. You deserve the convenience of sickness. You deserve to be on scripts. I mean, that's literally what they've done to us. So we have overconsumed. And after a while, our cell that's getting the glucose shuttled into it with insulin goes, excuse me, no more. I'm stuffed. No more. And you become resistant. That's what resistant means. Insulin resistant. That's what your fat cell is doing. So all of that extra sugar, now it's rising. You've had the high insulin for a long time. You had no idea, just like I had no idea. How are you supposed to know if they won't run a fasting insulin test on you? Insulin is a hormone. But instead, what they do is they run a blood glucose test, which is nice and low because you've been creating enough insulin to counteract it. So this whole time they're telling you, your labs are fine. You're doing well. No problem. And then it's seemingly overnight, they say to you, oh, shucks, you're pre-diabetic and now you need MET. That's very seemingly how this happens, right? So we're sitting around going, how in the world? Well, if you were to catch it long time ago, like if I were to catch it 25 years earlier, I would have had a key so young, I would have never had these issues, and neither would you if you could catch it much sooner. Okay, that's the fasting insulin test. In the meantime, somebody else now, so that's one level of the spectrum. Maybe you've got a little bit of belly fat going on. You're just noticing some things and you're not really thinking much of it. You're hangry, you're tired, a little bit of that going on. But then you hit your 40s. And maybe your glucose is rising, and it could be earlier than that. But I'm always convinced that women are like in their 40s and they're insulin resistant and they can't lose weight and they're super frustrated. And that's the beginning of like waking up. But now your glucose levels, maybe they're rising and your sugars are kind of a little borderline, a little pre-diabetic and whatever. Well, that's another section of being insulin resistant. When you finally get to the bad ends of insulin resistance, it looks like my dad. My dad was on dialysis, throwing up. He had already had quadruple bypass surgery. He had a pacemaker put in. He had all the emergency angiograms and the emergency this and the emergency that and blah, 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 blah. He had already done all of it. Eventually you can lose limbs. I mean, his sores weren't healing on his legs. You can be losing limbs. My grandpa was blind in a wheelchair from type 2, Italian. I only knew my grandpa blind, crying in a wheelchair. I think he died when I was 9. He died on my 9th birthday. And nobody told me. And I saw the date at the funeral. And that's back when, nobody was getting cremated. So you have the funeral within a few days. Anyway, just a little side note. But I only remembered him blind. So now you're way down the road. Well, this gastrointestinal surgeon is dealing with pancreatic cancer. You're far down the road when you have pancreatic cancer. That's far down the road. And the outcome, without literally a miracle from Jesus, oftentimes pancreatic cancer does not have a great outcome. I'm not a doctor. It's only my own personal experience of noting things that have happened around me. But seemingly that's true. So what if long before pancreatic cancer, we can deal with insulin resistance? We can deal with these issues. And what if we don't even have to do them with scripts, which create a whole nother level of nutritional deficiency and side effects that we don't want? That's why I get messaged all the time. I need to get off these scripts. I know I've got messages in my inbox right now that I wasn't able to attend to this morning. So if you're watching, I will get to you. I promise, I promise, I promise. I will sit down and go through my DMs. Sometimes I get to it in the morning and sometimes I don't. So anyway, and I know one of them is already about scripts because I could kind of just see it as I was looking through my different socials. Anyway, and people want off scripts because you know what? Met causes diarrhea and nobody wants that. Or sometimes the injections are causing constipation and you're frustrated, or maybe it's nausea or whatever. So my point being that what if long before we got on meds, we could take a natural approach? Or even if you are on meds, you can turn that around too, because this is not a terminal diagnosis. It doesn't have to be. We're going to talk about the end part of the game being pancreatic cancer, which is what he's talking about, but it doesn't have to be that way. In a healthy way, that's right. Still losing weight in a healthy way. Way to go, Julie. Way to go. Way to go. Ciao. Ciao, Bella. You're so cute. What do I think about natural flavors? I don't know, Julie. You know what? Let me turn that into a live. I mean, I think I already know the answer to it. I think I can't speak intelligently on it right this second. Like I need to, in my opinion, I want to find out then exactly does that ever mean anything good, or is it 100% bad? And if it's 100% bad, what are all the variations of that? And where do we see it the most? And, I'll turn that into a live because, yeah, I don't, sometimes we do get misinformation through channels of, TikTok and whatever, where people will just say, this is bad 100% of the time. And then actually it's not true. But now maybe we've shifted something in our lives completely and we are now in fear of something or whatever. So I just want to give balanced information. That's my only thing. You think it's jacked. Yeah, it probably is. And I would like to know all of the iterations of it, as kind of I want to present it with some good background on it. And then we can chat about that. But thanks for bringing that up because that's how I get my content from people like you. Hold on just a second. I'm going to write down natural flavors because I'm going to do it now. Natural flavoring. Because I do. I think it's important for us to be able to dissect. Otherwise, it does start to feel like absolutely everything we touch is like we could drive ourselves bonker-olas. We could just be crazy all the time. Because they have done such a number on us. So I'm just saying that is true. You got your lab results back, Mrs. Liebelt. Matt, good to see you. Your A1C since yesterday is a 5.2. Golly, you're doing a good job. And still dropping and only need insulin once a month, if that. Way to go, Matt. You are literally changing your own life, dude. I'm so proud of you. Claudette, good morning. Good morning. You're 43 and you ran labs with a hormone naturopath doctor and you're insulin resistant. So you're taking different supplements now, had to research insulin resistant diet. Yep. So basically, that's what I talk about every day, every single day. I know Kristen says that's great, Matt. She's like so cheering you on. Cheryl's cheering you on, Matt. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And Matt was saying yesterday that, so Matt is, I believe you're 36 and he's on dialysis. And he was saying that his kidney donor is living in an area that's using a generator. Do you know any update on that, Matt? Like, has that person been able to regain power and is doing okay? I would love to know. I did not know that you were set to have a transplant. So I'm very excited for you. There's a kidney transplant in my world. My niece had a kidney transplant when she was like 17 and she's doing really well. And she just had a baby. And so life is really good. God is amazing the way that we can transplant things. And I mean, it's amazing. The body is a phenomenal machine. Phenomenal. All right. So anyway, yes. Finding out that you're insulin resistant. I worked with a naturopath for a long time. And that is where I actually started to ask questions because I didn't know anything when I was working with her at all. And so she taught me stuff. And one of the things that she taught me was that the way that I would go through menopause is the way that I treat my adrenals. And that changed my life. I didn't know it changed my life in the moment that she was telling me that, but it ended up being a big, significant piece of my universe. When it comes to insulin resistance and doing things naturally, the protocol that I teach is, and then I'm going to get into this gastrointestinal surgeon. The protocol that I teach is targeted supplements. This is the trio. These are 3 supplements with 3 ingredients that help with insulin sensitivity. I started these about a decade ago. They have fully supported me in losing 3 sizes in my 50s. So I know that my world, I'm just very clear as to like my journey helping other people. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a naturopath doctor or a doctor. I just play one on TV. Just kidding. I don't. But basically somewhere in between a GNC person who doesn't know anything about hormones or insulin resistance or, weight gain in your 40s or whatever, and a naturopath, which is beautiful. I love naturopaths. I mean, seriously, like we brought my daughter to a naturopath and she helped her with trichotillomania when she was 13. So I love that. But I also know that not everybody has access to a naturopath and not everybody has resources to put into a naturopath because most of the time it's not covered by insurance. And most of the time the supplementation can be at a higher expense level. And I know that because the parent company of the line that I represent used to own the line that was in the clinic, which is good news because that meant that the organic farms were going to both lines, like that made me happy. Right. But it is a higher price point. And oftentimes they lean into nutraceuticals, which my line does not do nutraceuticals. Mine is more for the general population, so to speak. He had some intermittent power. It comes on for only a few minutes and then shuts back off. You'll find out more today. Very good, Matt. I look forward to hearing an update on that. You lost power for 3 days in Tennessee. I forget that you're in Tennessee, Julie. Bet you wish you were back in Italy. Still waiting for phone service. You have Wi-Fi. Yeah, you wish it was more affordable. I know. And that's pretty much kind of where I'm at. Like I'm able to offer people a really affordable conversation just because I know how to kind of navigate this a little bit. And then I teach the food ingredient trade outs and the group is called Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. If anybody wants to jump in there, and we do a 5-day challenge every month. This is our 17th one coming up on the 14th. And we go through the background of insulin resistance and how to trade out your food ingredients and how to supplement exactly like this and help your insulin and your visceral belly fat and your liver function and your metabolism and all of those good things. We do all of it. And then we do a recipe. We make stuff. That's been the funnest part. So this gastrointestinal surgeon is on this nutrition roundtable, and the nutrition roundtable, you can find it on YouTube or you can find it on Rumble. And it was put on by Senator Ron Johnson. And this just happened within the last week to 2 weeks. I knew nothing about it until I don't remember. Somebody sent me something. And then as I started talking about it, I know at least one of you has literally sat down and watched the whole 4.5 hours. I'm chunking it out and then I'm bringing you the information. So last week we talked about Surgeon Casey Means from Stanford. She's a Stanford surgeon who basically quit so that she could get to the root causes of things. And she spoke incredibly eloquently on the damaging effects of what our food supply has done to us and what our government has done to us, and how we are more obese, sicker, and more medicated than we've ever been. Then Jillian Michaels did a segment, and her segment basically talked about how in 1974 we had 10% obesity in America, and now we have 75%. So something is inherently wrong, and we've got issues. We got big issues, and the problem is that, you know what? A little bit of like, belly fat and a frustrating jean size is not the problem. We feel like that's the problem. That's why I always tell people, view weight loss through insulin resistance, and I will help you compress time, and you will be so much happier. Because once you understand insulin is a hormone, and that this is what's like, this whole process of not being able to get insulin and glucose into your cell for energy, and then it's getting stored as fat, that's your hamster wheel. That's the frustration. So that's why I love the testimonies on the trio of everybody that's losing weight and bringing down their sugars. That makes me so happy. However, down the road, then it gets even harder and worse. So this gastrointestinal surgeon is talking about how there has been, I'm going to just kind of go through some of the bullet points of what he's talking about. There has been a rapid increase in pancreatic cancer over the past 20 years. Why has no one focused on understanding the root cause? This is what he's saying to the panel. He said there should be his critique of the healthcare system, and Jillian Michaels talked about, Casey Means talked about this too, about how doctors are taught that the body has 100 parts, and they learn how to bill insurance companies. No, they learn how to cut people open, code the procedure, and bill it to an insurance company. They're not taught about nutrition, which is what we talk about. And he says, they are focused on billing, coding, and treating symptoms rather than addressing root causes. He says that the role of the food supply in chronic disease is a major, major issue. We talk about this all the time. If you've been in on any of the challenges in the group, we talk about the food pyramid and how criminal the food pyramid and how it's been bought and paid for by crop industries. Like it wasn't a bunch of doctors that had your best interest in mind that created the food pyramid. And so he's talking about that. And he's saying that pesticides and engineered chemicals impact our gut health and contribute to chronic inflammation. So why do you think that I'm trying to take everybody through a gut reset program by doing 10-day gut resets in October, November, December? Okay. I mean, this is a very intentional thought process, because if we can begin to heal from the inside out, think about how much further we can go and how we can literally completely change the way that 2025 goes for us. It really gets me excited. You could have a completely different year next year with your health, with your energy, with your weight, with your size, all of it, with your inflammation, with your aching, with your lack of sleep. You can change so much. So he basically is saying that the pesticides and the engineered chemicals, they've trashed our gut. So this is coming from a gastrointestinal surgeon. And he said it's created low-grade chronic inflammation, and there is a connection to modern chronic diseases. So we have just this inflammation, just chronic all the time. And much of it is stemming in our gut. It's starting in our gut. The misalignment of healthcare priorities. Why aren't we addressing the causes of diseases like diabetes and obesity? Why are we just medicating these things? Oh, you're pre-diabetic. Here's some met. Oh, you are obese. Here's an injection. Instead of dealing with the primary issue. When we talked about GLP-1 on Monday, naturally raising your GLP-1, which is a hormone in your gut, it's produced in your gut. So giving you GLP-1 injections, I'm not saying that nobody should do that, but I am saying that it's being overused for sure. We can probably all agree with that. But what if you could get your gut to start naturally reproducing it or producing it like it's supposed to get produced, like it hadn't been produced, like it stopped because of all of the chemicals and all of the pesticides. So the misalignment, causes of diseases, historical case study. This was super interesting. He said the U.S. government intervened in the Pima Indians, and I actually should have looked that up. I'm going to look that up right now. Hold on. I'm going to ask that question. I want just a touch more information on that. Hold on. Because what they did was they intervened with the Pima Indians, and primarily from the Gila River Valley in southern Arizona. Historically, they have lived in what is now central and southern Arizona, as well as parts of northern Mexico. The largest group of Pima Indians today is a part of the Gila River Indian community located just south of Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, so I wanted to give that context because what he's talking about is there's this historical case study where the government, the US government, intervened to give food. And the problem is that they gave them all processed food. Now, there's a show on, there's a documentary on Prime, or there was, let's see if I can think, it's called That Sugar Film, if anybody's into documentaries, and it is about a native indigenous people group in Australia and how they were invaded with westernized food, ultra processed food, and how their rates of diabetes and obesity just came off the charts. And they literally went and they looked at the shelves of the grocery stores and how they had been filled with all of the ultra processed foods. Basically, they looked like American shelves. And then they were diabetic, obese, sick, medicated, etc. They had to have healthcare come in and, like doctors come into the group of people and now administer meds and insulin shots, etc., because they made them obese and diabetic. Well, the same thing happened with the Pima Indians here in Arizona. And basically it's talking about our government intervention led to a diabetes and obesity epidemic because of processed foods. So we have studies. When you go and you're eating that bagel from the bagel shop, and then you're going to your coffee shop and you're drinking the pumpkin spice latte, and you're having the scone, and you're going to the Mexican restaurant, or you're going home and you're just eating flour tortilla this and bread this, and it's filled with all of these additives and preservatives and seed oils and the Doritos and the Oreos and the Cheetos and the ice cream that's not even real ice cream, like it's got all this crap ingredients, and we're just doing this all the time, and we're doing the exact same thing, and now it's showing that it is our food supply. I understand, and I'm a high responsibility person. I've talked about that before, where I get it. Like, to say that it's not our fault, that grates on me because I'm a business owner. I'm somebody who, like, I run a business and I have the understanding that I want a reward for the effort I put in. I'm not looking for a handout. So I'm also knowing that I have to take personal responsibility for my health. Okay. However, we have been, and Jillian Michaels addressed this, we have been inundated with so many lies marketed to us, such as Honey Nut Cheerios being heart healthy. That is a lie. There's been a stamp by the American Heart Association who is lying to you. And then how she talked about how the American Diabetes Association and the American Academy of Pediatrics has taken tens of millions of dollars from Coke and Cadbury and ultra processed food companies. So you have to understand that there is this element of, what if we are obese, diabetic, and medicated, partially to no fault of our own, because we've been following their guidelines, whatever they were, coming from the food pyramid or coming from a nutritionist when we go see our provider. Like, we have to swallow this pill, wake up, and do the opposite of what they're telling us to do. If they demonize eggs, eat eggs. If they demonize meat, eat meat. I'm not even kidding you. They're doing it for profit because everything has been created by these industries. So basically what he's saying is that we intervened into the Pima Indian people group, in Arizona to help them be fed. We fed them ultra processed foods and we made them obese and diabetic. And the exact same thing is happening to our population as a whole. Let's turn tail and run away from their recommendations. Who can we trust? I'm just going to be honest. If it's a government agency talking to you about your food pyramid, your how much you should be taking in of grains, or anything like that, I don't hold a lot of stock in that at all anymore now. That's gone. I've lost complete trust. Okay. So I love listening to people like Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Eric Berg, Maria Emmerich, etc. Okay. Then he talks about how there's this role of estrogen mimicking pesticides in declining fertility rates. So this is another level of issue of why. Hi, Anna. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You and Kristen loving me up on TikTok. I appreciate you so much. This is such an issue because we have high infertility rates. Nobody was infertile when I was growing up. And if they were, it was so uncommon. It was so uncommon. And just think about it. If we had 10% of the population was obese in 1974, and now it's 75% of the population, you can imagine that there's probably a correlation on a graph somewhere as to the rate of increase of infertility. Like, this is all connected, you guys. We shouldn't be too confused, but anyway. And then he says the flawed nutrition guidelines, flawed nutrition guidelines, food pyramid, bad, dumb, and misleading research. So what he said was recently they shifted the food pyramid to some sort of a graph. I don't know if anybody's seen this come across your feed, or if anybody, I should try to find it. And on that graph, the latest and greatest information from our government, oh, thank you, government, tells us, and he brings this up. He is a gastrointestinal surgeon saying, why in the world have I seen a doubling of pancreatic cancer over the last 20 years? And then he's saying to this panel, and you have the audacity to create a graph that says that Lucky Charms is being ranked as healthier than a steak? And he's outraged. And you should be outraged. I am outraged. Shut your mouth. Do not tell me ever again that Lucky Charms, thank you, Anna, that Lucky Charms is healthier than a steak. You need to go away now. That you are telling me that food dyes and highly processed crops that you are growing that are filled with chemicals, pesticides, your product is filled with additives and preservatives and full-on trash crap, that is healthier for me than a steak given to me by a cow that God gave me, assuming it's grass-fed, grass-finished. I get all that. I know there are factors to that too. Blah, blah, blah. I get that too. That's another conversation. But let's say it's an unadulterated cow that has really good vitamins and amino acids, and it has an amino profile that almost identically matches your muscle because God made it that way. You're going to tell me as a government, shame on you. Shame on you for telling me that Lucky Charms is healthier than that. Shame on you. You have no credibility. I don't care what letters your organization, your whatever department has. I don't care about your letters. Let's see. What should the letters be? Anyway, I'm not going to say anything. Okay. So it's mind boggling. It is stunning. Then he talks about how we need to reframe solutions for obesities and diabetes. Why not teach cooking classes and environmental cleanup over medication like the O injection and insulin? We need classes. Like, why not teach our people in school about proper cooking for diabetes, about proper eating and the cleanup, the environmental cleanup over the medications that are being given to us. And then he says, a reflection on how adults have shaped chronic diseases in children through poisoned food and environmental exposure, We've talked about that so much, you guys. The obesogens, bringing our 13-year-old daughters or granddaughters to Bath and Body Works and having them slather toxic lotions on their bodies. And I did all of this, you guys. I did all of this. Thank God my daughter is now doing something different for her kids because I didn't teach her well. I was bought into all of this. I'm just telling you, like we did the Bath and Body Works. She had the vanilla whatever. And when I was growing up, it was, sorry, my phone, whatever. When I was growing up, it was Love's Baby Soft. And then we taught all of our boys how to spray Axe all over the place so they could cover up, the lack of shower or whatever. I mean, we've just done it over and over again. I lit all the bad candles, all of them. And I would consider it a treat to purchase the toxic candles on sale. Like, right? So I did it all too. But he's saying that we have got to stop doing this because our children now are being poisoned through their environmental exposure and through the food that we're feeding them. And I have seen this over and over and over again. And you know that one of my core values is to do this journey without shame when it comes to trading out your food ingredients. So I would never approach a conversation with shame and condemnation. That is very against my core value. But I'm going to tell you something. It is extraordinarily concerning to watch these moms who are middle to upper class with resources and doing all of these stocking of their kitchens and their refrigerators and their pantries. And they do it like like they do it as a sped up, like a reel. And they're just showing how, they went to the store and they got all of their stuff and now they're stocking. They're stocking all of the juices into the refrigerator and they're stocking the snack drawer with all of the, individual packaged Cheetos and Doritos and Lorna Doones and like it's literally a vending machine in their home. And then they're stocking all of the, just everything is prepackaged. Everything is processed, everything. And number one, that costs them a lot of money. That's a lot of money, right? Now, I'm not saying like you shouldn't spend that kind of money. There is no amount, there's no limit to money. Money, that's fine. But my point being that we can't complain about not having money if we're going to spend our money on things that will, let's pretend this was a package of snack packs or something, Lunchables or something. And per pound or per whatever, this Lunchable that's going to be toxic to a child and it's being served in schools is far more expensive than if you just made them homemade, whatever, homemade ground beef, breakfast, chili. I'm just making something up. I'm just saying homemade food, all of that real food that everybody says, well, it's expensive to eat healthy. No, it's not. This Lunchable that costs you $30 a pound of toxic chemicals is way more expensive, and they're going to be starving in 45 minutes. Starving, because that gave them no nourishment. It didn't even get into their fuel tank. It burned up before it even got into, it's gone, and it's creating insulin resistance in our kids. So reframing that, a reflection. And then the last thing he says is, politicians focus on surface level healthcare reforms, ignoring the bigger picture of chronic disease prevention. And so his whole conversation is, listen, I'm a gastrointestinal surgeon. I'd like to know why we aren't talking about the gut and the inflammation from all of the drugs and the food and the chemicals and the pesticides and the trash that we're feeding our people. They're all obese and diabetic. And we've doubled our rate of pancreatic cancer over the last 20 years. Could somebody please wake up? And that was basically his talk. So now to finally have these people with credibility say, what the heck is going on? And we have to stop living this vending machine lifestyle, thinking that we deserve the convenience, because guess what? What you think you deserve is actually killing you. And I know that's not what you intended for yourself. You didn't intend for yourself to be addicted to ultra-processed food that leads to gut inflammation, that leads to depression, that leads to the whole cycle of insulin resistance and obesity and type 2 diabetes and pancreatic cancer, and the list goes on. And for all the girls that are infertile and they mourn the fact that they can't have babies, I watch it all the time. And it's not my place to say things. I watch it all the time. Girls in their 20s, so addicted to sugar. And that was me. That was me. Like, for real. This was me. I remember being a waitress at a restaurant in a small town, and it had linens on the table, and it was a very nice little place. And we would serve Andes mints. You couldn't put enough Andes mints into my apron. It wasn't possible. In between customers, grabbing candy, because you become addicted. So I understand, but these girls, it didn't affect my fertility. Probably because I was still eating. I don't know. I'm not going to go down that road because there's so many factors. Now, today, because of starting with ultra processed foods at a very, very, very young age, like we're talking about, like you're 2 years old, we're going to give you goldfish, that kind of a thought process. By the time they hit their 20s, they're hitting infertility and they don't know why. And IVF is very expensive. I have friends who have had IVF. 20 grand minimum, probably more now. Do you understand though? It's stealing. It's stealing from your health. It's stealing from your peace. It's stealing from your joy, and it's stealing from your bank account. And it's something that could have been dealt with a long time ago by stopping the lie that Lucky Charms is more healthy for you than a steak. That's where we're at in 2024. Are you freaking kidding me? Are we seriously going to be okay with this? We can't do this anymore. Like we've hit critical mass. Once it's in your children, once the fatty liver is in your kids, we've hit the top. Where are we going from here? This is no longer a warning. When you have this kind of a nutrition roundtable stacked with credibility, this is no longer, I'm a conspiracy theorist and I'm going to warn you against the food pyramid. Now we're kind of in a pickle because now the industry is asking. When the surgeons are either quitting or they want answers from the government, ding, ding, ding. We're here now, 2024. It's happening right now in front of you. Thank you so much, Kristen. You're amazing. You're amazing, Kristen. I love you. Jan, you're on your way to Kentucky to visit family. See you on Friday. I'll see you on Friday, Jan. We're road tripping. We're leaving tomorrow night, Thursday night. So just anybody who's on here, I won't be here live on Friday because I'm going to be road tripping, but I'll be back on Monday. When I get a minute, can you explain each item on the trio so that you can sound halfway intelligent when you educate your mom? She's managing instead of trying to reverse type 2 diabetes. We have the same endo doc. Thanks. Yes, I can, Cheryl. Her weight is good, but she has too much belly fat. And she's also sad that her IM doc is trying to put her on pills. Yes. Your insulin is making all type 2 diabetic members your insurance is making type 2 diabetic members enroll in their sponsored support group. You reviewed the program and you saw nothing about insulin resistance or reversing versus maintaining. You have a feeling you're going to be the problem child in the program for questioning everything. You go, girl, Cheryl. You guys, I'm sorry. It's not my MO to be like the person who, you're so amazing, Kristen. It's really not my MO. Like, I never wanted my content to be like, shock and awe and like, get you all riled up and whatever. But it has just, even over the last year since I've really so I've been doing content on insulin resistance for a few years. And before that, I was doing content on hormones in general. When I started the group 17 months ago, Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women, I actually beta tested 2 groups. One group was Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. The other one was another one for hormones and menopause. The one for insulin resistance went, and I could feel the swell on that. I could feel the the response of the demand. And so that's what I went with. And now this is what we're doing. Our 17th free challenge is starting on October 14th. Since I've been really going live and talking about this a lot, the acceleration on what is getting exposed it's a beautiful thing. It's hard on our hearts. It's hard to listen to, but I'm just here to tell you, I really, if any of you ever get good information from an endo, I actually want to know about it. I need to be able to report that there are good people out there who are not paying attention, because you have to understand they're bought and paid for. They have to do what they are taught to do when it comes to, they're not taught anything on nutrition. Casey Mean said she became a surgeon with zero information on nutrition. Became a surgeon. That's a lot of school. And so they're not given that information. But then also too, when you are owned by the PHARMA companies, you're going to just prescribe. That's your job. So day in and day out, you have now double, triple the patients that you used to have, because that's what happened from 2008 to 2016 under the healthcare plan. Doctors quit left and right. My mom lost her general practice. He said, I won't do this. I'm done. And he tapped out and he left. And there was story after story after story after story of doctors leaving because of the Obamacare that came in 2008 to 2016, because the red tape. And at the time I was in a clinic and I watched it happen. Like all of a sudden, literally your entire day is constantly filled with computer work and coding. And I mean, it was total insanity what happened. And so now the doctors have to see more people to make the same amount of money or whatever. And so you have to understand they're treading water too. So when they give you answers of scripts all the time, it's a part of their own process to survive and to just fulfill whatever they're supposed to do. I mean, it's just what happened. So the Doc Baker days are long, long gone. My mom was extraordinarily blessed in that moment for her nephrologist, because my mother had renal cancer. She lost one kidney. She had a nephrologist that loved my mother, and he became her primary, which is very unusual in this day and age. Usually you can't have a nephrologist as your primary just because they're a specialist, et cetera. And insurance companies don't allow things anymore. And so she was very blessed by that. But when you go there and you're being given information like you can have 150 grams of carbs a day as a type 2 diabetic, I'm sorry, they're giving you really trash bad information. And you have to stop listening to the powers that be that have agendas. And even if that person that you're looking at, that you love them as a person, perfect. It's the system they're connected to. We don't have to vilify the person, but we can vilify the system and the tragic nature of what they have done to us. It's criminal. It's criminal. And so now here we are having even gastrointestinal surgeons speak up and go, what the HE double hockey sticks is going on around here? What is happening? Why do we have such an, come on. I mean, don't we ask these questions? Come on. We should be saying to ourselves, wait a second, like we live in a first world country with like the most amazing healthcare on the planet, right? Why are we getting sicker? More obese, more medicated, and nobody's doing anything about it. And it's getting worse. Why are there like 80,000 toxins that most of them are banned in Europe and they're not in America? Don't we deserve answers? I think we do. Oh, I saw that. Sure. You're good. You're good. Oh, your friend is in nursing school and you're the class project. She's tracking your insulin reverse journey. I love that, Cheryl. I love that. Okay, so I will wrap up with what Cheryl wanted me to do. And that's to give you information on the trio and how it functions. And Cheryl, I'll give you a brief, but I'll tell you this. In the group, in the featured section, I did a master class last December and it's pinned. It's about an hour long. It's pinned. and it's going over the trio and a couple of other supplements. Okay. So if you really want to do a deep dive, I'm going to redo it this fall. I'll give an updated version. Okay. And so you can get better, whatever. So you can take it in and whatever. And really my third-party resources are a lot of Matt's being very, very Suzette, you're helping so many people. Oh, Suzette. Hi, Suzette. Good to see you. Matt says, you can do it, Cheryl. You'll try to find the masterclass. Yep. So the trio are these 3 supplements that I started with about a decade ago. And I did it just to keep my mom quiet because she wouldn't leave me alone about my sugars because my dad died of type 2 at 63. So when I started doing this, I kind of was like crossing my fingers and not really necessarily believing that anything was going to help me because, to be really honest, like I wasn't a supplementer and I wasn't a clean eater at all. I'm Italian. My idea of supplementing was ibuprofen. I mean, that's a real authentic story. And I was never thinking about my health or making any kind of a positive commitment towards my body. So when I started to do this, I had no understanding. Now, 10 years later, I have a lot of understanding because I've dissected why does this work. Yesterday, we talked about the liver. And so one of them is for your liver. The liver actually governs your hormones. It governs your blood glucose. And insulin is a hormone, and it helps to dump bad cortisol, bad estrogen, etc. Your liver is your fat metabolizing organ. So if all I ever told you about that, about taking something for your liver was about helping you lose fat, I think everybody would get excited about that. But this is literally one of the main reasons why we have a messed up system, because underneath your hood of your car, your engine is messed up. Okay. And your engine is your gut and your pancreas and your liver. Many people have had their gallbladders removed. We've just got this whole digestive conversation going on, and it's leading to, yes, we don't like the bloating. I get that. Yes, we don't like being insulin resistant where our insulin is high, or we have high sugars from being insulin resistant for so long. We don't like that. We don't like being pre-diabetic. We don't like being on drugs. We don't like being all of these things. But if we would get to a cellular conversation, we could shift everything. So the glucose product actually helps with insulin sensitivity. All 3 of them do, but it really helps with insulin sensitivity, and it's helping to fill in nutritional deficiencies of trace minerals. We're all just deficient in super basic things. This is so much easier than you thought it was. So this is helping you with bringing down insulin and bringing down sugars. Okay. And that's something you take 3 times a day. The liver one you take twice a day. You would never, ever, 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 ever buy a brand new car and then not change the oil for 100,000 miles. You would not do that. And if you do not get your liver to function, you will forever be on a hamster wheel of not being able to lose weight and feeling like crap, because your liver is what detoxifies your body. And if we've not treated it well, which 99.999% of us have not, because literally we've been so infiltrated, we can't see straight. Seed oils and toxins and chemicals, and like, try to eat 100% clean without one chemical, one toxin. Try not to touch one thing of plastic. Try not to smell one squirt of perfume. Try not to put on, one hand lotion that your friend, handed you to put on your skin, and you did it because you didn't have any other choice. Try not to do anything toxic ever again for the rest of your life. Touch a receipt. Like, I'm serious. Like, right? I mean, I'm just telling you, like, that's how bad it's gotten. So your liver is very important. And then the last one is actually a very, very potent antioxidant, and it helps with visceral belly fat. You guys, the fat that encases your organs, your intestines, your pancreas, etc., and it helps with your metabolism. That's the short order. And then if I were to put it into a sentence, I would say this. When your cell is resistant to insulin, bringing sugar into it, blood glucose to get energy, you now have a cellular problem. So we're going to give you a cellular answer. When you bring down your sugars and your insulin, you're actually able to lose weight. That's why I have testimony after testimony after testimony after testimony. Most of them are on the pink highlight bubble at the top of my Instagram page of people my sugars dropped 30 points in the mornings and I lost 14 pounds in 2 months. I started the trio, and over Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, I lost 25 pounds. I had one guy message me. I didn't even know he was taking the trio. And he messaged me out of the blue about, I think it was a month, 4 to 6 weeks ago. And he goes, I just want to say thank you. I've been taking the trio. He's been checking out as a guest, so I didn't know. I've been taking the trio for about a year, and I've gone from, I think it was like 224 down to 183. And I'm like, that's awesome, because he was actually dealing with what was going on internal at a cellular level. That's why viewing weight loss through the lens of insulin resistance changes everything. And then if you want to kick everything up a notch and see, when you get the injections, this is not a cellular conversation. When you're doing O, M, or W, that's not a cellular conversation. I'm not saying that nobody should take it. I'm not saying that but it used to be used for people to help them with their sugars. Now it's turned into a weight loss phenomenon, right? Instead, what that's doing is it's telling your pancreas to produce more insulin. It's a completely different conversation. So GLP-1, right? And that's going to be that's a semaglutide. That's going to be a higher incident of ingredient going into your body. Did you know that if you fix your gut is actually where your GLP-1 is produced? So if you want a organic, natural conversation about raising your GLP-1, let's talk about your gut. That's why we're doing the gut resets October, November, December. You can take one gut primer, which is a 30-day supply, but a really great way to try this is to do 3 10-day gut resets. Beginning of each month, let's take you through the holidays. So you do a gut primer. This is a GI, a gastrointestinal primer. Take that with, I don't have my probiotic. Take that with a probiotic. I have one that is a powder. I put it on my tongue, 5 strains. I have another one that's a stress probiotic. That's if you know you have high cortisol, you know you haven't been kind to your adrenals, you're in a lot of fight and flight, and you have stress and kind of like are maybe an anxious person. It will literally help with that. Okay, those 2 things. Take the probiotic all month. Do the gut reset for 10 days each month. Be in a completely different place by the time you hit January. In the group Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women, I'm posting every day information on the connection between insulin resistance and your gut. And I will start now posting testimonies, because the testimonies are phenomenal. Everything from somebody last night just told me, I have been taking the gut primer for 1 month. I have not had one bout of heartburn. I've not taken 1 Tums in a month since I started doing this. I had somebody else say that her sister or sister-in-law, she was pooping this was maybe herself. I'm going to go back to my notes. It's either her or her sister-in-law. The story is still the same. She was only pooping every 4 days. You guys, that's not good. You do not want to only be pooping every 4 days. That is not a great way to be moving toxins and impacted waste through your body. She started the gut primer 3 weeks ago. She is now regular every single day. If she misses 1 day, and we're not talking the script MET that gives you diarrhea. We're talking properly moving impacted waste through your body. She said she said there were 2 times she missed because of a scheduling change in her life, and it was in a different whatever. She didn't have it on her, so she didn't take it. Immediately, she went to 2 days without pooping. Okay, so for her, she's like, I just look forward to taking this every single morning. Like, we want things to be moving. Okay. And I could go on. I'm not going to go on because I'm going to put them into text and I'll put them into posts for you guys so you can visually read them, because I'm collecting so many. I find it to be very exciting because, again, even according to this gastroenterologist, if you can bring down the inflammation in your gut, which is the base of the diseases, you are going in a right direction. And then I would say, if you can deal with your gut and raise your GLP-1 hormone in your gut, you are going to support weight loss very much like when we're talking about other medicated ways to do it. You can get your body to function at a different level. You can. And then you don't have to live with the side effects. And every script creates a nutritional deficiency. We have to stop the cycle. Not everybody's going to be on board. I get it. Not everybody's going to, and maybe you're like barely listening, barely, like with not even just with one full ear, you're barely listening. You're listening with like a little grain of sand. And you're kind of like, I can't even take in this natural conversation because I'm so far from it. But it's planting a seed. And 3 years from now, you might have other information that comes to you that you implement. That makes all the difference in the world. It took me a long time. It's kind of like when somebody would say to me, you have to eat like this or you have to eat like that. You're kind of like, la, 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 la. Don't take away my food. Don't take away my, like, you just kind of like don't want to listen. But then when you understand how things function, all of a sudden, somewhere in your life, something drops into your spirit where you're like, okay, now that made sense to me. And because that made sense, I am willing to make a change. Okay, I'll make that little change. And then I'll make that little change. And then I'll make that little change. And that's exactly how I've done all of this because I'm still not a perfect ingredient person. I'm just not. I don't ask restaurants if they're using seed oils. I assume they are. I assume they're frying my burger in a seed oil. And I'm going to eat it with lettuce. And I'm not going to eat the bun. And I'm not going to eat the fries. And I'm not going to get the milkshake. I'm just telling you, like I've made a lot of changes, but it's not perfect. Perfection isn't my goal. But I will tell you my results. Well, since I've started taking the trio, I've lost 3 sizes in my 50s after my cycle stopped. I'm the only one in my family that has avoided type 2 diabetes. I don't take any meds and I'm 59. I will be 60 in January. So I like the way my body functions. I like the way my body feels when I wake up in the morning and I don't ache. I'm going to be really honest, TMI, but I like the way that my body eliminates toxic waste. I like my regularity. I like my energy. I like my lack of brain fog. There are a lot of things that I like. I like that I can keep up with my grandbabies. I like that I can get down on the floor with them. I like that I'm going to go on a road trip tomorrow night with a bunch of friends. We're renting a 12-passenger van and we're going to head from Minnesota to Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm going to be alert and excited and I'm going to feel good and I'm not going to be bloated. I am not going to be bloated. I'm not going to have tight jeans. I'm not going to feel like crap for a 3-day conference that has the ability to impact me for years to come. And I'm going to get to have fun and enjoy. And I'll find the foods that I want to eat. I always bring my own stuff. Like I'll bring string cheese and, I was talking on my stories this morning. Sometimes I make keto granola. Sometimes I've done all sorts of things over the years to bring different foods, all sorts of things. I haven't made all of my decisions yet for this trip. I feel like I'm a little unprepared. So I have to deal with that today. I will decide today some of the things that I will bring, that I will have in my purse, and I just don't eat. I can make it up wherever I go. And there's so much freedom in that. I have no concern. I just don't. I make it up everywhere I go. And it's a really good feeling. One of the things is I've made Maria Emmerich bread. And I've traveled with that. That can be a little sketchier to travel with, but it does serve a purpose. So potentially I could make her danishes, her egg white danishes, and bring those. Because in the hotel there will be a mini fridge, right? So I can make it up a little bit. So you're diabetic. What is good to take? You're on metformin. I know. Well, sexy Latina. I seem to resonate a lot with the with the Hispanic and Latino community because we have a lot of same cultures with our food. I'm Italian. So my question is always, have you ever tried supplementation in order to deal with your insulin resistance alongside of the medication? because the berberine is the hot topic. A lot of people take berberine or inositol. Those just weren't conversations when I was starting to do my supplementation. So I don't have berberine or inositol. I have potent extract and herbs and trace minerals. And those are where the testimonies are coming from for me. To me, from my customers. You can always jump over to my Instagram. There's a pink highlight bubble at the top that will talk to you about these 3 supplements, which are called the trio. And then get into my DMs, get into my inbox over on Instagram and ask me that question. Say, hey, I saw you on live on that TikTok. And I looked at the testimonials on the pink highlight bubble, and I want to know more about the trio. And that's where I start everybody, because those testimonies are, I couldn't get my morning sugars down. They're down 30 points. I couldn't lose a pound to save my life for 3 years. I'm now down 14 pounds in 2 months. I just got off of my second blood pressure med for the summer, all because they're on the trio. So the testimony, don't take my word for anything. Seriously, don't. I'm the one who avoided type 2. Listen to the people who are actually they're taking. I have so many of you that give me your results. You give me your blood sugar levels. You give me your data. Very, very priceless data that you give me from being on the trio. So I will say that. All right. So what is the probiotic that helps with stress? Suzette, look up, when you're on my website, look up stress relief. Stress relief. It is a pill. Very good. Like it literally, the claim on it, is it the claim? I don't know how to say that. Oh my. I mean, like, I feel like it literally says on there that it will help you with, I don't think I can look it up here on this particular device, that it will help you with like the feelings of stress. Like it's not just going to help because you had stress affect your gut, but it's going to, it is coming up here. So hold on. Gut health. But that it will help your mind with the stress also. So I'm going to look this up. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to wrap up by saying the gut health, the gut reset, the 10-day gut reset is going on right now, October, November, December, 10 days, the first 10 days of all 3 months. And that is the recommendation on that is to have your primer. You'll do all 3 gut resets on that and a probiotic. You're not too late. You're not too late. I had somebody text me this morning and say, I'm going on vacation and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to order those products, and I'm going to start in November. So you're not too late, no matter what. I just want you to know that. And then the 5-day challenge that is free is starting Monday, October 14th. It's our 17th challenge. We will go through ingredient trade outs. We will go through a pantry and a fridge reveal. We'll do a recipe, and we will set you up for success. So this is what it says. Manage occasional stress to support your whole self. Oh, there we go. Occasional stress is part of life, power to blah, 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 blah. Yep, literally. So this is what it says. Helps you manage occasional stress, supports mental focus. This is a probiotic specifically created for people who have stress. Manage occasional stress, supports mental focus, fights mental fatigue, and promotes a sense of calm and productivity. Even more, this probiotic helps support your gut health and immunity. So that to me is a completely different level of a probiotic than I've ever seen because of it's a very specific ingredient. It's a melon extract. And you can look that up. So anyway, so look up the stress relief on, if you go to my site, which is my first last name, KirstenLiebelt.com. And my name is Kirsten, and my last name is Lie. So Kili, and then Liebelt. There is a button number 4 that says gut health. It's a one page. It's super simple, but it says gut health. And in that gut health list, it's a cart. And in that cart, there's one, it's called stress relief. It's a probiotic. Amazing. Amazing for anybody who does that. So I do use the gut primer daily. So I've been using the gut primer daily for a long time now, for quite a while. And it is a 30-day, I mean, it's meant to be used for 30 days, but doing a 10-day gut reset, it's going to give you the opportunity to, number one, listen, maybe some of you don't need a gut primer every single day. Maybe you're, maybe you actually have been already on a gut health journey and you've made great strides in that arena. But also too, it's a way for people to see the difference between using a gut primer and not using a gut primer. And it's also another way to be able to try a product to see if that's something you want to incorporate long-term. Okay. So a gut primer is similar to a paint primer on your wall or the primer that you would put on your face underneath the foundation. And it's going to help with nutrient absorption and digestion and immunity and helping you to be able to like take down the inflammation in your gut so that you can create the serotonin that you need to feel good, your GLP-1 so that you can naturally produce that. Like it's going to help move your impacted waste. And it's going to help your bloating, like all of those things. There's like 6 blends in one primer, 6 blends in one container. It does a lot of amazing things. Helps your body to be more alkaline, not acidic. The testimonies are great. You know what? I'm going to be able to come back after this weekend. So Friday night, they are bringing in an expert. Oh, I wish I had my information in front of me and I don't. Okay. I think her name is Dr. Shaw. I don't know if anybody knows who that is. They're bringing her in Friday night. I mean, I'm like jacked because remember, I'm the geek. So I just found this out yesterday. So I'm going to be able to come back with really good information about gut reset, more than I already have been given and I'm implementing. So anyway, that's just a side note. So I'm going to come back from this weekend with good stuff for you guys. But doing it 10 days, taking this and turning this into 3 resets is a great way for you to be able to actually see for yourself. Many people immediately, they notice the difference with the bloating and the regularity, and it makes them feel good just off the bat from that. So anyway, that was a long answer for that, Suzette. Sorry about that. What is the packet that I take that's separate from the gut primer? Cheryl, that's my collagen. Collagen is hair, skin, nail, joint, joints, gut. So collagen is, that's like your most abundant, and these are peptides. It's not a cheap, meaning inferior collagen, like a whatever. These are the peptides. This is the good stuff. These are the packets that I take and I pour it in and I froth it because I want the benefits of hair, skin, nail, joints, gut. Yeah. It's one of the most prominent proteins that we have in our body, and we start losing collagen at like 25. Like I'm playing major catch up. Yes, I know. I'm so excited. I really am because again, I kind of, ever since I started talking about insulin resistance and I could feel the wave of desperation on people, I feel it's the same way with the whole gut conversation. People are waking up and they know they have to deal with their gut. I actually have people message me and say things to me like, I can tell that I'm not absorbing my nutrients. I can tell that I'm nutrient deficient. And I'm like, never in my entire adult life did I ever think I'm nutrient deficient. But people are now feeling this. You're feeling it in your bodies. That's a stunning statement to make, that you guys are assessing yourselves to that level, that you can feel that. That's really quite amazing. And so because of that, I know that dealing with the gut, it's a major piece of the puzzle. Major. And just taking greens, it's not the same. This is a green product. This is green and it tastes like tea. This is not a greens product. It has fermented greens in it. This is not a greens product. It's a fermented green, alkaline spices, digestive enzymes, prebiotics, postbiotics, fiber from extracts of fruits and vegetables. Like it's a comprehensive gastrointestinal primer, completely different than just taking greens and putting it into your smoothie. So if you take the purple packet, would the stress relief probiotic be on the same level? That's such a good question, Joanne. It's a completely different thought process. So the purple packet is using adaptogenic herbs, and adaptogenic herbs help your body adapt to stress. They come in and they support your adrenals, and your adrenals regulate your hormones. So adaptogens, I love my adaptogens. Started with those the same time I started with the Trio 10 years ago. Helped me to sail through menopause. I never did have a hot flash, and it helped me with being able to multitask and have mental clarity. And then when they launched the ashwagandha, which is another adaptogenic herb, separate of the purple packet, they launched that in May. And I am so in love with my ashwagandha. And it's because of, thank you. It's Melissa's in the house. Thank you, Melissa. You're amazing. The ashwagandha gives me such a sense of well-being, and it helps me sleep, and it helps with stress. So adaptogenic herbs are coming in and they're supporting your adrenal. The stress relief probiotic is going into your gut, and it's dealing with the stress from the gut perspective. So it's just different. So as a probiotic, if you consider yourself, like I would say to people, your cortisol is high, you've had a hard time with your adrenals, you're maybe a little bit of a nervous Nelly, maybe you have a little bit of anxiety going on, just go with the stress relief probiotic. Just go with it. And you know what? You can always switch to the other one anyway. You need a probiotic anyway. Intentionally, they did not put a probiotic in here. Pre and post. Intentionally, no probiotic, because probiotics are very sensitive and you want them to be stable. If you want them to stay alive, to do what they need to do, you can't be messing with them I put my primer in my water and I zhuzh it up with my frother. We don't want to do that if there's a probiotic in there. You can also heat this. Do not heat a probiotic. You'll kill the active culture. So don't heat it. Cold food or cold water, but you can heat the primer. So you could heat it, you could add lemon to it, you could treat it more like a tea. Postbiotics are stable. Probiotics are not. So if you need anything, the ashwagandha, you take the ashwagandha. As a female who has learned to assess my body, that sense of well-being that can come from adaptogens, it just makes it, oh my gosh, thank you. I just got a llama, you guys. Kristen, that llama was the cutest thing ever on the face of the planet. Thank you so much. You're amazing. Thoughts on parasites, Melissa. I'm going to write that down just like I wrote down natural flavoring, and I will do something on that. I'll research that. It's something I haven't researched a lot of. I don't know that okay. Is it probably true? Yeah, for sure. But is it the cause? Some people are like, that's the cause of insulin resistance. I don't agree with that, but I will research. I will do my research. Thanks for asking though. So if anybody needs the Trio, you need a cart that has the Trio in it, or you want the primer with a probiotic, let me know. Reach out to me and get into my inbox on Instagram or my messenger on Facebook and tell me I want the Trio, or I want the gut reset, the primer and the probiotic, or I want both. And I'll get you set up, get into the group, Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. And we're doing the gut reset right now. We're on day 2 right now with just some really good information. And then we'll just keep on going. And the challenge starts on the 14th. And I'm going to go because I literally just got my message that my meeting is starting. So have a super blessed day. And I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And on Friday, I will be on a road trip. See you later. If it'll touch. There we go.